Welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. Spring again. It's green. Everything's looking nice. Just out Bigfooting a couple days ago. And Susie's enjoying his new high-rise apartment building. Which I rescued this from a dumpster. So yeah, he's got the penthouse apartment here, and then he's even got a loft in his penthouse apartment that he can hang out in and be the boss. Say hi, Sushi. Say hi. Hi, Sushi. Yep, everybody's looking at you. All right, bud. Hey, guys. How you doing? I haven't seen you for a while. You got your antlers back again. How about that? You don't want any actual munchies, do you? You guys got all kinds of grass to eat right now. Yeah, somebody threw that at me earlier today. You guys should eat that. This branch came flying off the tree and went wailing over here and nailed me earlier. I threw it off. Well, aren't you handsome with your new horns growing back out again? Woohoo. There's my deer buddies.
The last deer I killed was 1981.
That's quite a while ago.
Yeah. Don't really care for it.
So I'm busily filming them right now while we're on the phone. Because they're, like 10 feet away. If you guys can hear the on the recording right now, I'm actually talking to MK Davis while I'm filming these guys. So that's what the background conversation. All right, we're back for another brand new episode, and with us in the studio we have our amazing studio tech wizard that's going to be kind of hiding in the background, running everything for the show here, Kimber from the Ancient Tracks Beast Inquiry channel. And after I get done interviewing MK, she's going to do an interview with him, which will then appear on her channel. So get over there and sub. She needs some more subscribers. She turns out really great content. You guys just got to see one of her shows on my channel very recently, where we had the Knights of the CWR Roundtable giving a big thumbs up and salute to Keith Crabtree, who's now officially retired from going around doing conferences and stuff all the time. So that was all awesome. And, Kim's volunteered to help me this summer and be my co-host a bit until I get some technical things sorted out over here on this end. And so fortuitously enough, we managed to get MK to come on, and he's going to do another episode of In Search of, in this case, El Chupacabra, because MK had to go do an investigation on one of these things, which, and probably in Mississippi doesn't come up all that often. So with that, let me hand it off to MK. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I saw that on television, actually, first. When I saw it on TV, then I went and found the guy. And he didn't live too far from me. He lived in a little town called Isola. I assume that's short for isolation. It's way out there.
It honestly sounds like the name of a town from Minnesota where a ton of them end in OLA.
But anyways, he wasn't too happy, and he was calling it a chupacabra. He said he got in his pen and killed every one of his goats, I think 2 of his hogs, and made his horse jump the fence.
Good Lord.
As it turned out, his neighbor saw it. It was actually 2 creatures. And they were underneath the street light in his backyard. And he stared out the window at it for a good long while. Called his wife, and his wife came. And he said he always regretted not shooting it, but he was mesmerized by him, and he didn't shoot him. His gun was right there. He said it was propped in the corner. Probably for the best.
Probably too busy being shocked. Did he say what form of livestock aside he implied upon them to dispatch them?
Goats. Mostly he killed goats.
How exactly?
But throat and bled them all out.
So the classic chupacabra attack, sucking the blood out of the goats, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Was there like pools of blood on the ground, or was it just like they're sucked dry?
Well, at that time it had already rained since,
so couldn't tell them.
Yeah. It was on a bayou. They all lived on a bayou. The neighbor too, called Jackson Bayou. I have an aerial view of it.
We'll show you that right now.
Yeah.
So there you go. Nice drone work from MK. Thanks for getting us the aerial view there, buddy.
You interview somebody that's so earnest that it just you don't feel like they could be lying to you. People are skilled at lying, but between him and the other guy was like really heartbroken about losing his animals.
Yep.
And they both were an agreement that it was Chupacabra. This thing happened maybe about 3 miles from Sky Lake.
Oh, good Lord.
So that'll give you an idea. Sky Lake's full of strange things.
Yeah, it's making that area less and less of a possible tourist destination for any vacations in the future, I'll tell you that.
Well, they do have those big trees, and people do come.
Yeah.
People do experience strange things, too.
Like getting all their goats sucked dry by some monster in the woods, for example.
Well, first thing I think about is my own throat.
Yeah, that too.
They can take a goat and do that to them. I don't have 2 legs to run away with. I'm sure it would catch me if they wanted me. We do pretty good. We're not equipped like a lot of animals are with weapons and defenses, but we make our own.
Yeah.
Take them in there with us. But
really, our only natural defense is that we're long distance runners. We can't fight worth a damn. We can't run really fast, but we can run a long time. That's about all we had going for us.
Yeah, but a pack of wolves can too.
Yep, exactly.
And they take turns.
Yep.
It's we've made the earth pretty tolerable for us. But it's still a pretty wild place.
Well, it's a long-term project. We're not done yet.
For some reason, they feel attracted to those wild places and situations. There's something about that story that made me want to go look into it. That really wasn't my forte, but something comes out of the woods or out of the down the bayou, and it wants your stuff, and it just takes them.
Yeah. Well, that's 100% cryptid too. I mean, we don't know what it is. It's some kind of weird thing that lives in the woods. It's nearby where you are, so yeah, I probably would have went and investigated too.
I've seen some things, along those lines of my own. Running my game cam, which I run it, all year round. One particular time, something that I can only describe as something like a chupacabra or something. It was a strange looking animal. It was during a light rain, and it came just trotting by briefly in front of the camera, and this really long snout like a miniature horse, and then it went out of sight, out of the field of view, and that was it. Haven't seen it since.
Huh.
Where it came from, where it was going, I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
Now let's get back to the Chupacabra story. So you heard about this on the news?
I did.
What was it on local, mainstream TV?
Yeah, local news, Channel 6 News.
Really? And what did they have to say about it?
They interviewed the guy, and he didn't have nothing nice to say about chupacabras.
Yeah.
He was upset, and I interviewed him as well. So, what I sent you has an interview of him as well.
What's your name?
Cleotra Tanner.
Cleotra Tanner.
Right.
Okay. And what did you see when you had your sighting of the goat killer or whatever it was?
Okay. My wife and I was in the bed. It was around 8:30. And the dogs, in fact, we don't have a single dog in all of them gone, but we had 8 puppies and 2 grown dogs. And they were keeping us so much noise, my wife got up and went to the window on the west side of the house, in the bedroom. And when she looked at me, she said, what is this? She said, come look, I don't know what these are. What this is, brother. So I'm thinking it's some kind of big old coon or something, so I eventually get up and go look, and I never saw anything like that before. It was one big animal. I guess he was about waist high to me.
Okay.
And he was probably in length, I would say, in a ballpark, about 5 feet in length.
In length. Okay.
In length. His lower paw was down, his front paw was down. He had a rainbow type back, but they never held their head above this high above the ground. And
Yeah, you mean a rainbow? You mean color-wise or?
No, I'm talking about the shape, the body shape.
Yeah.
And they never had their head up. And even when the dog get that close to them, they would chase the dog for a few steps, but they never held their head up. So a few minutes later, another one came out the weeds. And both of them were slick-skinned, very slick-skinned. And they had a brown, what I would call a brown patch on their right shoulder. And we stood there about 10 minutes maybe looking out the window. Then something, I finally realized my gun was right beside me. So by the time I got my gun and got out the back, they had went back in the weeds. And to show you how well we saw, there's a high density street light in my backyard. They were between the light and the house. So we got a good look at whatever it was. A very good look.
Now, were they on all fours or were they?
It was on all fours.
All fours, okay. Well, did they have the appearance of a canine or like a dog, or did they have the appearance of something else?
Something I wouldn't call it a dog.
Not a dog.
I would not call it a dog. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a deer, as some people said. It wasn't a mangy coyote, as some people have said. And it wasn't a dog. It was much bigger than any dog I ever seen. I never saw a dog with a rainbow-shaped back, with
an arch.
Right, the arch back.
Yeah.
And I never saw a dog that held his head that low to the ground, that never looked up.
Well, how much would you say it weighed? Just your guess.
Wow. If I had to guess, it weighed over 200 pounds.
Over 200. That's pretty big.
Over 200 pounds. But the other part about it is their backs, the body shape wasn't about this wide. It wasn't a huge, fat animal. It was
thin.
It was a thin type animal.
Did it have a tail?
I did not see a tail.
Okay.
I did not. I'm not saying it didn't have one. I didn't see one because I was sort of shocked at seeing what I was seeing. The neck was about longer than average anything you've ever seen, and the head was sort of long too.
Did it have ears that you could see?
I did not see an ear.
That's strange.
I did not. And he probably had it, I'm not sure, but I was just amazed at this animal, this hairless animal, with this brown spot on it, the way he was made, and when he would attempt to go, when the dog would get like 2 feet of him, he would take about 3 steps towards the dog, and the dog would run. And we were standing out trying to figure out, what are these things? We never saw this before. And I'm 64 years old. I never saw this on a movie.
Well, do you think that's the same thing that got your goats? Now, did you see any tracks out there later on? You go out and look for tracks?
I called the police department, the sheriff department. They came out it was on Friday night. They came out there Saturday morning. we went back there and we saw split hoof tracks that seemed to have claws in them. But you know, maybe deers have been walking around, they were stepping in the same track. I don't know.
But they seem to have claws.
They seem to have claws.
Yeah. That's what I would call a cryptid. You ever heard that word, cryptid?
That's definitely cryptid.
A cryptid is any animal that has not been duly discovered.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been documented. A hidden animal is what crypto means. A cryptid animal would be an animal that's hidden. People see them occasionally here and there, but nobody's ever gotten good enough footage or good enough proof that they could put it in a textbook.
But now my neighbor, she lived down the street. She lived in Jackson. She bought this house and renovating it. And she stayed here on weekend. And she called me Saturday night. She got away, her and her granddaughter went to Walmart. And when she got back home, she called me. She said she had just saw one of a little way from her house. They went back on the bow side.
Okay, now that you're looking back toward a creek back that way, right? So you think probably that creek is what they were traveling?
I'm pretty sure that creek is what they were traveling.
What's the name of that creek?
Jackson Bayou.
Jackson Bayou. Okay, and does it go into the river anywhere? Or?
Well, they get down here and split up and go around and split up and go to the moat plant and go toward that over.
And back this way, it runs into Sky Lake.
That's a big lake.
It's a
Sky Lake?
Sky Lake,
Oh, that's interesting.
It runs around to Sky Lake.
Sky Lake.
But we've actually had some occurrences up at Sky Lake.
Really?
Yeah, sure have.
Okay.
I could show you some pictures. I didn't bring them with me though, but we're you know, it's pretty strange goings on up in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are only about 3 miles maybe from Sky Lake.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm interested in Indian mounds, and I was going to an Indian mound up there. They call it Inverness Mound, but it's actually closer to Isola.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big old mound that you have to cross a field about a mile and a half to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way over there, I was making my way along the lake. I got to that lake. Something hollered at me. It sounded like an eagle scream, you know, like an eagle screech, but it was way too long to be a bird. You know, it had a lot of lungs behind it. And when I heard this had happened, that kind of came to mind, you know, because when I went down there and took video of the mound, and I was walking back, there was a polecat laying there in the road where I had just been with his guts hanging out. And something had killed this thing after I walked by, and had killed him so fast that he hadn't sprayed. Wow. You know, his guts were hanging out. So I'd always kind of stayed with me there, you know. And when I heard this had gone on, I said, well, maybe there's something that follows these creeks, you know, creeks and lakes. It's kind of an edgy thing to know that something like that's out there, you know, that will tear your goats and your hogs up.
If you saw it, you would never forget it. And you know, I get pretty sick and tired of people telling me what we didn't see. And I'm not trying to convince anybody or what I saw, but I know what I saw.
Well, let me ask you this: if you go every day and get in your car, you drive to town or drive here and there, you trust your eyes, don't you?
Right.
Your eyes tell you when to go out into the highway, when not to.
Right.
And everything's based upon what your eyes tell. Why stop? Because you saw something unusual. You know, it's the same eyes. You saw something strange, but you can't identify, and that's just the bottom line.
My poor wife, before the dogs left, and like I said, all the dogs gone. Before the dogs left, every time they barked, she would jump up and run to the window.
Let me turn the camera over here to Dennis, and let me get a statement from him. Let me get it set right. All right. Now tell me what you found. Well, just tell me at the beginning about your hogs. And that's been how long ago?
1 year ago.
1 year ago,
Yeah,
about this
18
time
hogs.
of year.
Yep. 18 hogs.
18 hogs.
Yep.
That's a big loss for you, isn't it?
Yep. Cut all them head off. Gut them. Took the gut and blood. They eat no meat.
So the guts were gone, the heads were gone,
The head was there.
The head was there.
They ain't food the head.
but the head was just removed.
All the way off.
All the way off.
Wasn't nothing hanging on it.
Decapitated.
All the way.
And you didn't find a lot of blood.
With no blood.
No blood.
No blood. They cut them open, took all the guts, everything out of it.
And then you didn't have any more problems until this year.
This year.
And tell us about the problems you had this year.
3 hogs. Head cut off, gut gone. No blood. Then went to my goat pen, all of them head cut off.
How many?
9.
9 goats.
9 goats. Cut open, all the gut gone, no blood.
But were you raising the goats like to sell, or were
Yeah,
you
I was
just
raising them.
raising them? Okay.
Yep,
So
I had
it's a
9.
financial impact on you.
Yep,
Yeah.
lost every one of them. He left one, he cut the throat and he was still living, but the next day he died. And it made all the horses jump out of the pen.
Now, how many horses did you have in there?
4.
4, and they jumped out of the
They
pen.
jumped up out of there.
Now, I've got some video on my phone that shows the height of that fence. They were pretty desperate to want to get out of there. They didn't. They hadn't jumped it before, had they?
No.
No.
They
Okay.
never jumped it. They have no idea of jumping that fence. But they jumped it that time.
Well, are you interested in getting some cameras up? Maybe.
Yeah. I need to find somebody to put some cameras up. I need cameras everywhere.
Camera can't stop them, but it might help you to find out what it is for sure.
I need to find out what it is.
Yep.
Then this year I hit one of them in my truck up the road. I hit it real hard. I thought I had killed me a deer. So I got out and looked, that scoundrel got up and jumped straight up. Hit them weeds, I ain't seen him. He's gone.
Did it run off on all 4s?
No, it was on 2.
On 2 legs.
Yeah, he jumped.
Now,
I thought I had it.
what can you tell me about that you saw of him? Did you see the face?
Well,
or
I just seen his teeth. When he got up, I seen his teeth, and when he jumped,
how would you describe his teeth?
they were long, sharp.
Long and sharp. In the
I
jump.
seen his mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't holler now. He
Did,
didn't holler. That's when I thought I had killed me a deer.
he didn't make any
There
noise.
ain't be no noise.
What
You know,
co-
that's the strange thing about out there. If many dogs were barking and they chasing dogs, they never made a sound.
And that thing made no sound.
They make a sound.
Well, I hit it.
Now, was this one? Was this one bare skinned too?
Yeah, but naked have no skin on.
No skin on it.
And I hit it hard. It looked like it should be some blood somewhere.
So it was slick skinned.
Yeah.
Could you? I know it was night, but could you see it well enough to tell exactly what color the skin was?
All I know is just like got the mange.
Yeah,
Like brown, like.
brown looking skin. Did it look crusty? Like mange would get kind of crusty.
Yeah. But it looked like I should have knocked some blood or someone loose. Hard I hit it because I run around about 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, that is odd.
I hit him real hard. I hit him hard enough for him to lay down for a long time. He didn't lay down.
He jumps up
On 2 legs.
on 2
hopping
legs
on weed.
and he hops.
Yep.
No, he don't run like bop bop bop.
No,
but he
I ain't
hops.
seen him run. He said hop. When he hop, he got no weed. It's kind of gone.
Evidently, they don't run fast because when they chase the dog, the
Bad move. I know he said hop, throw no weed.
didn't have any trouble getting away from them. So evidently, they
Yeah.
don't run fast.
Well, years ago, this happened quite a few years ago. I was in Louisiana, and I saw it was on a Bigfoot hunt, and somebody shot at one of the Bigfoot way down in the creek bottoms, and I was up at the camp, and they hollered for me to bring more lights. So I was bringing lights down there, and something ran across in front of my truck, no further than about 15 feet. I mean, right there, it's tall grass, but it was similar as what you described. It was no match found for it. It had an arch back, no tail, funny looking ears, kind of oval shaped head, and I'm convinced that it was running real low, keeping a real low profile. But I'm convinced that it was running as a result of that shot. That it was frightened and it was moving on out of the area fast. But I don't know. It certainly wasn't a Bigfoot like you would describe, like the little film shows, that they show on TV. It was something that could get on all fours, but it had long back feet, and you could see that it could stand up.
Oh, you seen that?
Yeah.
I believe from we did get a look at the back. I believe not, and again, this is me now. I put my twist on it now. I believe they can't stand on their back feet.
Now that's based upon what?
On what I saw, the way how long their feet are, and just the muscles. Because the ones that we saw seemed to be pretty much pure muscle.
Yeah. You saw a lot of muscles on it.
A lot of that's all you see, pure muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did it shake you up? Did it scare you?
It's hair raising. I put it that way. It's hair raising. My wife's still scared.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see something like that. Yeah.
It is. But
let me stop things just a minute. This battery's about to go out. Let me get a battery out of here.
Well, do y'all have dogs to hunt stuff like that?
Here we go.
And he'll let us know if they come around. That's for sure.
But
just before you turn it back on.
Okay.
Clyzarius, come here. We have a high density street light in our backyard, and like I said, they were between the light and the house. It's not like they were behind the light.
Yeah.
They were between the light and the house. They're not scared. I can put it that way. They're not scared.
That seems kind of odd that something would be that bold, yet people don't see them. They're rare. But apparently they're not that rare around here, because you saw them and he saw them.
yeah,
He lost animals to them.
second time.
Yes, 2 times, and then he struck one. So, what do they have here in the way of cover? Besides the creeks, I mean, do they have any tree forests? Any large blocks of trees?
Right across the field over there is a large block of woods.
Back over that way. But he got to be traveling behind his house to go get to my house.
As the further you go back this way, around that way, it's really, really thick, and it's some woods out there. Yeah. So,
and then a lot of people be hunting out here. They'll never run them up.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. They
look like they have their hunt dogs out there. They don't never run them up. Look like somebody should be able to see them again.
It's like you would think, but they didn't take any meat off the animals. They just took the guts. Well,
guts and blood.
Well, the guts, like liver, is soft, easy to eat, full of nutrition. So is the kidneys, the heart. Even the eyes. The eyes are full of nutrition. They don't have to tear at it, to get all that out. Just open the guts up. Yeah, it's so they probably similar to somebody stealing watermelons and eating them in the field.
Eating the middle.
You just go for that heart
and
and bust another one. That's my guess. But sometime whenever things dry out a little bit, and if you don't have any more incidents, I'll bring some game cams out if you like, put out. You don't have any animals except for your horses, and you got some hogs, don't you?
Yeah.
We'll put one on the hog pen.
I would like for you to put one back here, because I believe in traveling
Along that creek, yeah.
this creek.
Right, I will do that. We'll see if we can't, get something in the way of evidence.
We need a road call.
It's tough on a person to have a story to tell like that, and then he doesn't have any way of conveying that imagery.
The cuts, were they like a scalpel or were they like something ripped it out?
They're like a knife. No scars or nothing. Ain't never been no scars. That's what I don't understand. How can you cut it off? A hog head.
I don't know the answer to that one.
He told me they cut them. Don't leave no skin.
Now you said that y'all did have some pictures.
Yeah, I had some pictures last year, and then got some pictures on my wife's phone, my grandkid's phone, some of it. But I throw them hogs away.
Well, if you come across them on the phone, you got my phone number. Just text me one or two of them. Let me look at it. I'd like to see what they look like.
This is
Let
me see if I still have it. Okay.
Would you care if I walk my dog use the bathroom?
No, go ahead. This is a picture that someone, a hunter took on swamp, Panther Swamp. Yeah, Panther Swamp. And they text me this picture and asked me what I saw that it looked similar to that.
Oh, look at that.
I want to see that.
Well, does it look similar?
It looks similar when you look at the neck and the head of it. It looks very similar.
You mind if I
Go ahead.
record it?
Go ahead.
Would you do me a favor? Will you text this to my phone if I give you my number?
No problem.
I would love to have this picture. This is Panther Swamp.
Yeah, there's something you want to. Then they sent me a picture with the thing dead on there. Y'all something.
What's your number?
662-590-3876.
Wow.
That's something unusual.
Wow.
Now, and believe it or not, the game warden that came out from Madison to talk with Dennis and I told us what this is a picture of a mangy coyote. And that's the first thing from the truth.
That's not the impression I'm getting.
I ain't never seen nothing like that.
I don't think they want to fool with them.
Well, I mean,
That's what I think. I think they looking at something they can't believe.
I also have a news clip that Channel 12, they used to teach Channel 12 in a hunter in Lena, Mississippi. That's a news clip off Channel 12 that the lady sent to me.
now where's Lena at? It's out here in the Delta, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Lena is, isn't that out 25? Lena, Mississippi?
Hairless creature was killed in Pigtown, a community in Lena, Mississippi. I think Lena's not far from Clarksdale.
I believe it is up that way.
Armed with a .22, he was coon hunting when he saw something with glowing red eyes in the hay. The beast moved to attack.
That's what it says.
I wouldn't want nothing like that attacking me.
Did y'all send me a picture of one of them things? Didn't you send me a picture? Somebody had killed in Yankee City?
No.
Simpson County. There's a man from Simpson County sent me a picture on my wife's phone, and he had killed one of them, had him laid out. Y'all didn't do that, did you?
No, it wasn't us.
Well, she got it in her phone.
This past Monday, I was at the sheriff's office, and he was briefing his deputies and his staff on these very things. And he told them that they are real, They possibly are dangerous to humans. I guess he had talked to people throughout the state. He said that they're all over the state.
Lena's just south of Carthage.
Okay, okay. Well, I don't know why I was thinking Clarksdale, but thank you. Oh my gosh. Now, a fellow told me that there was a man who had a wolf, half German Shepherd. And that, was it you told me that story? Have you told me that story?
Yeah, that's what they were telling me.
Yeah, right. And it got away near Pickens, right?
Yeah.
And it bred with coyotes. You know, so I wouldn't venture to say what's possible.
That's right.
You know, all kinds of things are possible.
Yeah, one guy told me it wasn't the game warden told me it said ain't nothing but a German Shepherd and a hound dog mixed up together. I don't know. I said, no, I don't. You know, they be doing that just throw you off so you won't be thinking.
I know this from what I saw.
They don't know.
It's not a German Shepherd.
I know it ain't no
It's not a hound dog. It ain't none of that.
I know it ain't.
Now, I know what it wasn't. I don't know what it was, but I know what it wasn't.
You know, Karen and I read some reports of people seeing hyenas. They thought they were seeing hyenas.
That's what my wife said when she said, these are hyenas. Baby, we don't have hyenas. She said, come look, these are hyenas. Well, no, it wasn't a hyena either.
There's oh my God, I can't think of the name of it, but one was killed in Montana way back when, and it disappeared for a while. They had it mounted, and it disappeared, and it resurfaced in Pocatello, Idaho, in a museum, and it's similar looking. It was killing a man's farm animals, and he shot it and killed it.
Look at the size of the feet.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Because when you said what you said, the feet looked longer.
I guess I left my phone outside.
And the
I sent it
head,
to you already.
the head looks funny.
The head is sort of straight and sort of narrow, but look at the length of his neck. But whatever it is, my wife and I got a close-up look at it.
Ah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Man, we can trap it some kind of way. Something can go on.
I just thought that's what you seen back there.
That's pretty close to what I seen.
You know that neck is almost as long as a deer's neck.
It is. It is.
So you know,
it's thick and it's solid.
what happens to a person if he's hunting out in those woods by himself and comes across, say, two of these things?
It may not be good.
It may not be good for him.
May not be good.
Because see, in Panther Swamp, a man disappeared way back when. I was a teenager.
I was duck hunting out there that
And
he disappeared.
They couldn't find. They took dogs from Parchment and tried to find him. They've never found him.
They are big enough to take you wherever they want to take you.
Yeah.
Trust me. You know, I can guarantee you that the biggest one was about this high to me. And the other one that came out, he was a little bit shorter. He wasn't quite as tall.
How tall are you?
I am 6 feet.
6 feet.
Mhm.
Okay.
But when you stand and look at some 5 to 10 minutes, you get a good look.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the shadows.
That's strange right there. I just knew for sure that this was going to be a Bigfoot day.
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
That's right.
Maybe not. But you have to go where the evidence points you to.
Mm-hmm. That is.
We're going to have to put some camera or something out there to track them, because they don't let you close them on.
Well, let me tell you something. If you were a game warden or a law enforcement, now you're talking about, you put them in kind of a little bit of a bind, you know, because they're the people responsible for protecting the neighborhoods, and they're the people responsible for knowing what all's out there, and they get real nervous when there's something going on that they don't know.
They don't want to do it.
I can tell you when I was at the sheriff's office Monday and he was going over it with his people. People had pulled pictures of Chupacabra.
Yeah, Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. And when they were passing that picture around, they had pulled it up there. When they passing that around, the chief deputy, Demetrius, said, when he saw it, he said, I saw one of those.
And on the backside, I saw it.
No, it wasn't the backside. It was on Washington Street in Iso. That's inside the city limits.
Oh, he saw it inside the city limits.
Inside the city limits.
Well, where them ghosts hanging out.
This bayou also turns and go back around to that lake, Dawson Lake. This bayou is, when you get to Isola, this bayou is on one side of that street.
Well, you know Dawson Lake was where the thing screamed at me.
Well, okay, Dawson Lake is right there. This bayou actually runs back to Dawson Lake.
Right, they go to Dawson Lake.
Dawson Lake is less than a mile. In fact, Dawson Lake is less than a half mile from Isola.
Let me tell you what, it screamed at me. I didn't know whether to run back to my car or run on.
You know, right, because the mound right crawls up from Dawson Lake.
Right.
Sure is. The mound in front, right across.
What they call it, the mound. That's the name of the area up there. They call it the mound.
And Dawson Lake, it go right down the side.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. You know, you start to connect some dots there, and you realize that these river systems and creeks and they all interconnect. And they're nothing but highways. Something to travel. Right. The cover's there.
Yeah, highways.
Y'all heard any noises? Any screams or hollers?
No, we haven't. We haven't heard anything. But I know why we had our dogs.
This was a screech.
And I don't know what happened. Did my dog down to your house?
I don't know. I know them kicked all them cats. Whatever that thing was, we had about 20 or 30 cats. I don't see no more about 5 of them now.
Yeah, all your cats gone. But
yeah, they gone.
We had 2 grown dogs and 8 puppies, and we hadn't saw one. We hadn't saw them in about 3 days.
Hey,
they don't even come to eat.
Do what?
Unlock your
Oh, it's locked? Oh. Sorry.
But his neighbor is the bulk of the interview because the neighbor saw him in his backyard. And he also told me about another gentleman that was riding down the road towards Sky Lake. It was a gravel road. And an ag plane flew over really low. You know how they do when they skip from field to field? It'll just barely clear the power lines.
Yeah.
Well, this thing stood up out of the grass and stood and watched him come over. And the guy on the car was watching, could see the whole thing. And that's some ability there that, you know, that's, I don't know what I'm looking at. Is it a Chupacabra? I understand they can do that, or they hip hop or something. And then there's this, what is it? The dog man that people talk about that can also stand up like that. Watch.
Oh, they run around on their hind legs. They don't just stand up.
Yeah. Well, this one stood up. It stood in its tracks, like a bear.
Right.
But he said it wasn't a bear. I can only take his word for it. We have a few bears now. The bears are making a big comeback down here in the Deep South. Had one got hit on the highway just the other day.
Well, it's about time you guys got to enjoy some of the fun.
You will.
You guys have had it easy for decades. Yeah, welcome to the real world. There's bears wandering around the woods causing trouble.
I really don't know how to feel about it. They haven't been a problem all my life, and now they're a problem.
Well, because now they're there. Wherever they're at, they're a problem. That's the point you're missing. We're used to having to put up with their antics and eating our garbage cans and all the other stuff they do all the time.
I'm going to see if I can find this picture here. There he is.
All right, let's see him.
Let's see if I can get this thing to...
A little closer, up a little bit.
There he is.
Oh, there you go. You can see him in the tree.
Oh, he's up there watching everybody.
Yeah.
Just got comfortable up there, waiting on it to get dark.
Yep. And then descend and eat everyone's garbage.
Yep, pretty much. And they get on your back porch, or if you leave your car unlocked, they'll get in your car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some of them that have watched people get in cars, and they can do that with their claws. They can pop
hook that
thing
handle there with
and
snap
yep.
it.
Then you come out in the morning and go, who the hell's in my car? They ate everything inside.
Vandalized his car.
Yeah, exactly. Or you go to open the car in the morning, there's a sleeping bear in the back seat. That could also be bad.
Well, bear, I don't get as uncomfortable with bear as I would Chupacabra.
Well, that's true. You wouldn't want a Chupacabra in your back seat when you went to start the car in the morning.
No, I wouldn't want a Chupacabra anywhere around. I've read enough about them. Not that I could do anything about it, but.
So you got a chance to interview both of these guys, and since you were right there talking to them, your read on them is that there was no hogwash. This is something that actually happened, and they were not at all happy about it.
No, I didn't get that impression at all. The other people that listened to the interviews I did also agreed that it sounded pretty genuine.
Right.
And I asked him about Sky Lake. On the interview that I did, in his backyard.
Right.
And he says, I don't even want to go there. He said everybody knows about Sky Lake.
Except for the tourists that come down and hand out money to go there.
I ought to put up a sign or something, a little warning sign. You go out on that walkway, that wooden walkway they have. There's no way to get back but the way you went in.
Yeah. Little warning sign. Stay on walkway. Look out for unknown cryptids. Bring taser and mace.
I've gone on that thing and seen, like the top board ripped off.
Oh, God.
Looked at it, and it's very sturdy built.
Yeah. How'd that happen exactly? Somebody needed a seat at their little makeshift camp out there in the swamp somewhere. Good Lord.
K. Davis here. You're looking at a lake called Sky Lake. It's not too far from where I live in Mississippi, out in the great delta of Mississippi, of the Mississippi River. It's an old oxbow lake. It's not too far from where an incident occurred, an animal attack. There was in the attack. There were 8 goats that were killed in the fashion of decapitation, and the blood, no blood involved, no blood left behind, and the insides taken, but the meat left behind in unusual fashion. And the people there are rather shook up about it. They think that it's something very unusual, and I have to agree with that. But it happened not far from Sky Lake. If you look to the right there, you'll see those trees at the other end of the lake. Those are old cypress trees that are anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 years old. Some of the oldest and largest cypress there is. This is a vestige. It's what's left over of what used to be throughout the Mississippi Delta. Now, I got to this place where I'm flying my drone by following this gravel road, and the gravel road goes all the way to that goat pen, that enclosure. And there seems to be a connection between this lake and another lake called Dawson Lake and all the bayous in between in terms of strangeness Now, at Sky Lake, amongst all those cypress trees, there's that gravel road right there. You follow that back, you go all the way to the goat enclosure. It'll go to some woods in the distance. And you get out the other side of the woods, and you're at the goat enclosure. And back to Sky Lake. Sky Lake has had numerous occurrences such as vocalizations and structures made of sticks and bent trees and things that have been attributed to Bigfoot or Sasquatch behavior, if you can believe it. But this is an ancient forest. See the trees up at the other end? It follows the old lake bed way on around. Huge, giant trees. So what I was doing is investigating the connections between Sky Lake and the incident there on Dawson Lake and the incident there in the goat pen and the circle of incidents. Not far from Sky Lake is Indian mounds called the Jaketown Mounds, and they're some of the oldest Indian settlements in North America or South America. They're Poverty Point culture settlements, and in the whole area, it's just ancient. That's a look straight down from the drone. I'm going to turn to the left here in just a minute. You'll see a white pickup truck. There it is right there in the upper left corner. And the gentleman in that truck is the landowner. And I stopped and talked with him for a good little while. And I asked him, I told him about the goats being killed, and I asked him if he'd seen anything unusual. Over the years, he says, yes, he had. For number one, he swears that he has seen a wolf, a really large one, one in excess of 200 pounds. And then he said back in 1980 that something came across in front of his truck near the town of Isola and went out into a field. It was at night. It was large and dark black, and he took it to be a panther. But when he shined his lights on it, it was out in the field, and there was one lone tree out there, a cottonwood tree. And it was, he said, as what he told me, that it was standing up against the tree, and that its eyes reflected the light brilliantly, and they were very wide apart, 6 or 8 inches apart. So, he was, I think sometimes when people don't have any knowledge of the unusual or cryptids or anything like that, then they kind of reach for what they do know. And it just came, you could tell when he said panther, he really wasn't sure. He said he took it to be. So, was it the killer of the goats? Maybe. Was it the vocalization? The source of the vocalizations? Could be. But that's what I'm doing out there today. You may not find anything if you go and check it out, but then you might find something. I think I'm going to land this thing. I thank you for your time.
Yeah, when you start getting clusters of reports of strange things from around one small area, it makes you start wondering what's really going on there.
Yeah. There've been other things, I don't necessarily attribute this to a bear, but my neighbor across the way over there raising cows, he had 2 of his cows killed in one night. That don't sound like a bear.
Yeah.
Bear, I don't know that a bear could do. A cow's pretty good size.
Big bears can do it, but generally when they attack cows, they're not, unless they're a really big bear, they can't really take them down. And more often than not, they'll end up chasing them around and like eating their tail off or something, and that's about as much as they usually do.
He seemed to think it was like a big cat of some kind.
Could be.
He didn't see it, but he sent his son to go. And he said that he got a glimpse of what it was, but he didn't see it real well. It was in the woods there.
So all he could see is there was something there, but he couldn't ID it at all.
There,
yeah. That's almost worse when there's something out there attacking animals and stuff, and you're not even sure what the hell's doing it. It's much worse than when you can go, oh, it's a big cat, or it's a bear. Here's a track, No,
I used to walk every day through that area.
Oh God.
And just, for health reasons.
Right.
And I come upon these slaughtered little pigs.
Ew.
They were wild pigs. I mean, not out of a pen, but they were, had the long dark hair.
Yeah.
Straight tails. And they had been eviscerated.
Yike.
Their guts had been pulled out. It just literally, it wasn't a cut up the gut. It was a rip. It was ragged. And then bitten in the back of the neck until the little scapula was sticking out.
Was there any?
Go ahead.
Any evidence of missing internal organs, heart, liver, anything like that?
Yeah, the internal organs was gone.
Uh-huh.
I thought, well, maybe somebody's, if they knew my interests, maybe might be trying to prank me or something. I don't know, but I looked around for a camera. I said, well, somebody may have put a camera up and just getting a laugh out of me,
Yeah.
But there was no camera.
They're wild boar. They're completely covered in black hair. Well, unless somebody just shot it and blew it out of his neck. I hate to turn the sucker over. It's a big cavity. I don't know whether it was blown out or what. I don't know why it would disembowel it if he got shot in the neck. Hold on here. That's what's missing out of the back of the neck. Even the shoulder is pulled out, the bone's pulled out.
And the next day, those little pigs were gone. And in their place was a pig skull and mandible. They were separate. They were laying there separate.
Right.
And it was really strange. So
That doesn't sound like anything that has like a natural cause, honestly.
And I kept walking. You know, I didn't stop walking. Made that day and made the next day, and just I tried to ignore it. But I did get pictures. You know, I got pictures and videos.
Did you send them?
No, I didn't send those. I didn't know I was getting off onto that.
Okay, you know what the rule is here. You mentioned it, so now you got to send them.
I can get them to you. I can get them to you.
Okay. Because yeah, I'm curious too now. It's like I want to see this too. What the hell? That sounds really weird.
After the skull and mandible, maybe it had been there about maybe 3 weeks. Then there was little small rib bones that were placed there with those two. Just a little completely cleaned rib bones.
That is so weird. That's not like normal animal behavior. There's something going on there.
Well, no, it evolved on after that into other things. There was gentleman and his wife that were building a house, and it was one of those slow builds.
Right.
You know, they've been working on it a long time, and they had some debris and stuff out there and piled up in the yard. And in that debris was scrap pieces of duct tape. Well, I was walking and I come across this dead dog. It looked like maybe a German Shepherd, and it had been choked to death with a rope made from those scrap pieces of duct tape, just tied together end to end until it was long enough. And it choked the dog to death, and the dog's last dying facial expression was still on it. And that kind of shook me up. And then the next day, that dog was gone. And another dog that had been done that way a long time, further back in time, was laying in its place, and he was all rotted. and he had a piece of that duct tape tied to his left foot, rear foot.
What the hell?
Yeah, I know. And then there was, I was telling my neighbor about it, and we talked for a little while. And when I went to walk off, I got a phone call, and he says, "You need to come back down here. There's a dead dog right now here."
Oh, good God.
And I came back down there, and this dog was freshly killed. Didn't have the rope on him, the duct tape rope.
Right.
But he had blood all over him, and he was laying on his back with his legs spread in the ditch. But not the ditch for the highway. This was a driveway ditch, an old
Right.
logging thing.
Yeah.
They later on made it into a driveway, but so there's 3 dogs, and none of them belonged to anybody. They were all 3 strays.
Okay, that's just really bizarre.
Yeah. And I figured whatever it was doing it came from back in there where there was an old gravel pit. There's 2 of them, actually. And this pit was old. And apparently, I kind of believe my hunch is that it was staying back in there and then venturing out to do its dirty deeds.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed to know that those dogs were strays, and it just...
And it could get away with doing whatever it wanted.
Yeah.
Good God.
But the part of the hide of that German Shepherd was pulled down, just revealing the muscles. Not the best place to go walking, but I was determined to walk because I had heart trouble.
Yeah.
I wanted to do everything I could for myself. So I developed this ability to ignore stuff.
An ability perhaps you should not have actually cultivated.
I would kind of cut my eyes at it, but I wouldn't turn and look and give it any real scrutiny.
Right.
Later, sometime later on, I looked up upon, the road was the fence had a barbed wire fence was elevated above the road,
Yeah.
and I looked up there and something had taken a feather, just a single feather, and stuck it between those tightly woven wires and pulled it through. And then there was tracks going up there to it, and one of the tracks had 3 toes.
Gugly.
Is that what it sounds like to you?
3 toes, gugly, cruel.
It was
things for no
very
good reason.
definitely 3 toes.
Yeah, that
I got
gugly
that
leave
on
3-toed
video.
tracks. Gugly leave 3-toed tracks.
Well, I don't know what's going on back there now because I've, kind of gotten away from going that far. I still walk, but
Right.
I've had.
Well, you
all
could
kinds
still jog it. You should probably just, like carry a flamethrower with or something just in case.
people also have moved in just different places. So if they're not having trouble, then they'd see it before me.
Yeah. Well, sometimes just having humans living in the area, having enough presence there will keep them away.
There's 3 big creeks in my area that all spring out of the ground, artesian-like.
Right.
And they all flow different directions to the swamp, which is several miles away. And maybe that's what brings them there to a common place.
Could be. Well, they follow the water, just like Legend of Boggy Creek. They're always following the rivers and the creeks and stuff like that. So at some point, they'll travel up it to see where it goes to, where it comes from, what's there.
Well, I'm all for doing a thorough investigation, except for right around my house, which
Right. No.
I'd rather them just go somewhere else. I don't want to stimulate them any.
No.
They get to doing this back and forth stuff, putting stuff out for you to see and all that. I'm not really keen on that. I don't want them around.
That's happened to Blaine Tyler and Richard Soul from the Knox Gigas Project, where they were doing research too close to their houses. And the very night they came back, there's a Bigfoot at their house doing research on them.
Before you know it, you got a problem.
Yeah. Well, that caused problems for both of them because neither one of them's spouse wanted to have Bigfoot hanging around the house, so they got yelled at.
No, I don't blame them.
Or so one of them may have changed her opinion because now she's actually research assistant. That's Blaine's wife, Lisa. Rich's wife, I don't think she wants a Bigfoot around where she's at all.
Well, it's been a while, so I'm back on the comfort side, except for the bear. I still worry about the bear, but.
Well, getting back to the Chupacabra thing now, it wasn't just an oral report. You actually got a piece of trail cam video too.
Yeah. That's. I didn't know what I was looking at first. I didn't know what to call it. It looked like it kind of had a horse head. It was a long snout.
Yeah. And the body looks wrong too. It looks like it's got some kind of a hump on its shoulders, like a friggin' grizzly bear or something. And you're like, what the hell is that? That's not a dog.
I don't know what it was. And it had a funny gait to it. Have you ever seen a rhinoceros when they do that trot?
Yeah.
That two sides.
Yep.
Side to side. That's what it was doing. So I don't know. I was just grateful that I didn't go up there at any time when it was hanging around, or, I didn't want to encounter that thing.
Do you have any feel for how big it was based on the video or anything like that?
Yeah, it looked like it was about the size of a large dog, but it had much more mass.
Right.
It was filled out, maybe like a hog would be.
Right. Well, just looking at the picture, I can't idea it as any kind of dog breed that I'm aware of existing. And I know you got some nice close-up or specific captures on it. One of you lightened up, and a couple other ones if you want to talk about those.
Yeah. Well, that I started calling it a chupacabra for lack of a better word.
Well, yeah, you don't know what it is.
Yeah. I don't really know. It could be a chupacabra.
It could be a completely different kind of cryptid, too, because the chupacabra thing started in Cuba, and they were originally saying it's like a lizard monkey with spines on its back. Well, these things don't look anything like lizard monkeys. They look like a dog with mange or something, and you get them reported all over the southern part of the U.S., from Texas all the way over to Florida. People are seeing these weird things, and you can't pass all of them off as just a dog with mange or a coyote with mange or a coy wolf with mange or something. It's some other kind of critter. And if they're going around sucking the blood out of goats, so maybe we should call them like vampire dogs or something. They might need their own cryptid name.
Well, at any rate, I haven't seen him since. So I don't know where he was going, but he was picking them up, putting them down.
Well, he must have been around the area for a little while, at least, if he had managed to wipe out that much livestock. That doesn't sound like he was just roaming through there. It sounded like he was hanging around for a while.
Well, the thing about we know pretty much what's out there in the daylight,
right?
But when it gets dark, the best you can do is get little peephole looks, with our equipment.
Yeah,
and that's just about the best you can do. We don't really know what all's out there that may venture out of a hole in the ground or a cave, or
even just common nocturnal animals that are, maybe there's not very many of them and they're nocturnal. So, how long is it going to take until we see one of them? Oh, good Lord. We're not wandering around the woods in the dark looking for nocturnal animals.
I got a big cat, and I assume it's a bobcat, but it was nowhere near the size or the look of a typical bobcat around here. It didn't have any spots to mount to anything except right there on its leg, backside of its leg. The rest of it was all tan, and it was muscular, my goodness. And it walked right in front of the camera, and it wasn't interested in any dog food or anything. It just looked around, took a look this way, and then it went on its way, and then the camera timed out. But it had tremendous muscles.
Right. Yeah, it looked like some kind of a cat that had been taking steroids or something. That thing was buff.
Yeah, so that tells me right there that even amongst a species there are variations.
Yeah.
And there's some crossbreeding goes on. But we used to have a comedian from this area, Jerry Clower. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Funny stories, and he told stories about this guy that went up in a tree after a raccoon while they were coon hunting, and there was a big cat up that tree.
Oh God!
He described it as a what do you call it? A souped up wildcat. You know, that's what that reminded me of. The term, a souped up wildcat. He was just bigger and badder, and you know, you would not want to get up a tree with this dude. I promise you.
No.
He could kill a deer, no problem.
Is that
And great big feet. I got a real good look at his feet because he was facing away, and he pick up that front feet, back feet, and just point them right at the camera. And they were huge.
maybe that's what they refer to as a catamount
Or a wampus cat or something.
or a wampus cat. I was just going to say that. And you combine the two of them, you get cattywampus.
There's legends, you know, that people bring with them when they come across the water.
Yeah.
The Irish brought the legend of the bogger. They had peat bogs over there, and occasionally they would dig up a corpse, you know, that from many thousand years ago.
Yeah.
So somebody threw out there, executed them, and the peat preserved them. And they would see strange things like, you know, ghost lights, things like that.
Will o' the wisp.
Yeah. Well, when they came over here, they saw similar things.
Yeah.
And if they saw something like that, they might call it a bogger. That's just a bogger, a spirit of the bogger.
Right. Which is probably just a Bigfoot, but they're misidentifying it.
Well, eventually it kind of evolved into a booger.
Yeah.
But it's the same meaning.
Yeah.
And if they could see that it was covered in hair, they'd call it a woolly booger.
Yeah.
You know,
or a wood booger. Yeah.
You know, this is based on what people saw. You know, they would have a term for it. Some of the terms came already put together from the old country.
Right. Well, you know, when they got over here, they weren't finding any peat bog mummies that looked like a piece of Jack Link's beef jerky they had made into a human form. So they're just using that word for there's something living in the bog over there. It must be a bogger.
Yeah, or the spirit of the bogger.
Yep.
It goes way back.
Well, you got other etymology for it too. Don't forget about boogeyman. You shorten boogeyman, you got booger.
Yeah, that's right. I imagine that term is used in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you know, and again, it's like, well, they just moved into the area. They're seeing these weird things. They don't know what they are. Well, what do? Do you make up a new name for them? Do you try and revert back to the mythology of your ancestors, where they may have mentioned something similar, and you just use that name for it?
No, you go to your local academic.
And you ask them, and they say, there's no such thing.
I saw a booger. Okay. All right. Come back and see me sometime.
Yeah, your local academic tells you there's no such thing, and quit drinking so much whiskey.
That the whiskey makers would be the first person to see him.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're out there dumping that mash, and guess who's showing up and eating it?
There used to be a lot of that go on around here, but not so much anymore. Price of alcohol went down.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I understand. Nowadays, it's mostly just a hobby. They don't sell that much of it. They just store it in case there's another prohibition.
It's legal to make it for a certain amount, you know, for yourself. That clear stuff, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Moonshine, distilled from pure moonlight.
Gave my dad a jar of it for Christmas. And he wouldn't drink much of it at once. You know, he'd kind of get a measured amount and kind of roll it around.
Yeah.
Except for scar your esophagus.
Well, it's great antiseptic too.
And it could have some impurities in it, you know.
If you're lucky. So anyway, getting back to the The strange video. Now, you pulled out some screen captures on that. Was there any of them that you wanted to particularly hone in on and take a closer look and analysis at?
Yeah, the long face, the horse-like.
Right.
That just blows my mind. I've never seen anything like that.
Well, again, several anomalies. It's got that strange, it doesn't look like a dog's type snout or face. And then it's got like a hump on its forward shoulders. It looks like, a grizzly bear hunch or something. And you're going, what the hell is this thing? It does not look like a dog.
Well, once again, we have those springs, that feed a creek that go a little warm water, sandy bottom creek.
Right.
Never dries up. There used to be a lot of Indian camps around there. We find stuff around here all the time. Even go back to, the paleontological days. I've got a fossil. I think I got it right over there. It's a claw from a giant ground sloth.
Oh, nice.
And if they had them once, they can still be some around. You don't know.
Yeah.
And they found some down in Patagonia in a cave that were not that old.
Nope. And
maybe
interestingly,
100 years or less.
Yeah, that was supposed to be extinct a long, long time ago, not 100 years ago. And they actually took a closer look at the hide on it, and the hide's got little bones in it, like scoots. So it's like almost armor, like bulletproof or arrow-proof or something. And all the natives down there have stories about that animal and how they couldn't kill it with a bow. The arrows would just bounce off of it. Well, if it wasn't real, how did they know that detail?
Well, what do you do? If you can't put an arrow in it, you might ought to move.
Well, this isn't like ancient myth or anything. This is like observed. Oh, yeah, my dad tried to shoot one about 20 years ago, and the arrow just bounced off it. Like, how do they know that detail if this thing wasn't real? Now, if they found a hide of one.
They would have had to know it.
Yeah, and it's got these little scoots inside of it. So, yeah, if you shot it with an arrow, it would just bounce off of it. Exactly what they're describing.
So that goes back to we don't know what all is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Patagonia means big feet.
Big feet, yep.
Yeah.
Who was it that was down there that ran into him first? Was it Magellan? I can't even remember that was down there that ran into him. It was
Magellan.
Okay.
They made a woodcut, and Magellan's men were standing there about waist high to these other guys here. They're way up there.
If I can find that image, I'll include it. That's a famous one.
Yeah, and you know what? As soon as they got it to Europe started saying, there ain't nothing to that. They just exaggerating,
Yeah.
And they did the same thing about the duck-bill platypus. They sent an actual specimen to Europe.
Yeah.
They were accusing them of throwing a bunch of animals together.
Yeah, taxidermy hoaxes, right.
Just sitting there with a needle and thread making a duck-bill platypus.
Well, that's like the story of the two-headed giant from down there in South America, where they claimed that they captured him. He was still alive, and then after he died, they mummified him and put him in a glass case. They still got his body. It's been looked at multiple times. It's not taxidermied. That was a real 13-foot tall two-headed giant. His name was Cap Dwa, in case you want to look it up.
Well, that's we don't know it all, but we never will if we keep turning them over to academics. I can tell you that.
Especially the Smithsonian, they're really great at flushing
there needs to be
evidence.
Somebody that will accept evidence on its value, its face value, without trying to add their own skeptical leanings to it.
Yeah.
That does damage.
Well, we're not asking them to take our side. We're just saying take an unbiased look at the evidence. And we're far from the first people to say that. Look at Dr. Bindernagel. I mean, he is and was a scientist, and he couldn't get the people in his own damn profession to look at the evidence. And that's all he asked them. It's like, I don't want you to take my side. Look at the evidence I collected. Now they won't look at it.
He had this kind of a famous cast that had a hiker's boot impressed in the middle of the cast of the Bigfoot foot.
God.
You know, the hiker didn't even see it. He just
Didn't see it, just stepped right in it. Derp, derp, derp.
stepped right in the middle of it. You know, with all the treads and everything a boot got.
God.
Went on his way, knowing well, he didn't know it, but there was pretty clear evidence that he was out there with something else.
Or shortly thereafter, one or the other.
It was within a certain length of time.
Yeah. Well, we found that before too. And I'm
not anti-academic, but after a while, you know, you get to where, why are we wasting our time?
Yeah. No, I'm pro-academic. There's some great ones out there. Grover Krantz, Dr. John Bindernagel, for example. Actual academics, actually unbiased, actually would look at the evidence.
They weren't right about everything, but they weren't wrong about everything.
No. Well, they didn't have to be right about it. They at least were taking a look at the evidence and coming up with theories.
They tried.
Yeah.
I miss those guys. We're losing them all the time.
Yep.
As time goes by, the people that are beginning to take those positions are very different type of people.
Hell, look at Dr. Igor Burtsev. We probably only got him for about another 20 years.
Well, the secret is go out during the winter and break the ice off the lake and jump in the hole.
Apparently, it works for him.
It must work.
He's in his 80s. And he can get around faster and better than I can. I'm 20 years younger than him.
He's a pretty good guy. I've had him here at my home.
Yep. Igor's a researching machine.
I took him and fed him some dinner, and we were in a little town called Indianola, and he ordered oysters, fried oysters, and he jumped up. I grabbed his mouth, and there were 2 pearls in the oyster. I had my son. My son was there eating with us, and he got him to stand up. She shook his hand, got his picture taken. You know, he was the publisher of the newspaper. So he said, "Man, not local man,
Exactly.
World traveler finds 2 pearls in one oyster."
Famous Siberian Yeti researcher hits the jackpot. Leave it to Igor. That's hilarious. Oh, Lord. Well, I don't know. You know, you had more time to look at this video and look at the stills from it and everything than I did. And what do you think this thing is?
I don't know. I just don't know. I wish somebody would see something in it that they did know or recognize.
I mean, it looks vaguely like a canid, but it's not like anything you could put a label on and have any idea that you were anywhere near close on it.
The history of canids in America is real interesting. Of course, they say they got them all from wolves, but when Europeans got here, they had dogs of all types. And they had one back east. It still exists in the wild, but it looks so much like a domestic dog that no one thought that it wasn't. Right. Except one day, an expert on wild dogs saw one of them regurgitate for their puppies food, and only the wild dogs do that. Right. No domestic dog does that.
No.
He immediately recognized it and caught the dog. and he began a breeding program, and now he's brought them back. You can
Wow.
buy them. They're called
Wow.
Carolina dogs.
Huh.
You can find that on Google.
You should just call them barf dogs.
They're like a dingo.
Okay.
They look like a dingo. Matter of fact, they call them another name is American dingo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But if you look at some of those people out west, way back out west, where they're exposed to the Pacific Ocean, they had dogs. They didn't have horses, so the dogs did all the work.
Yeah.
They tied these. What do you call these things?
Travois.
Like a sled.
Yeah, it's a travois.
Drag.
Travois are the same thing that they adopted for use with horses later on. As a matter of fact, they called dogs little horses. Because that's what they used them for. There was their pack animal, and occasionally when they ran out of food, it was lunch. But usually they were just pack animals, and guard the encampment from anything sneaking in there and stuff. That's all the dogs were for.
So that being the case, that having once been here, maybe it's something that was prevalent once upon a time. I'm just speculating. But
maybe that could explain the buffalo-like shoulders on it. It needed that. Maybe they bred them to have that extra strength for dragging the travois around. And then some of them survived and just kind of went wild again. And still a small population.
Yeah, they had been living over here in the eastern coast on their own. The American dingo, wild
for
dog,
centuries. Yeah,
and no Europeans recognized it. They thought it was somebody's dog, and got away or something. Until that guy saw what it did to feed its puppies. It did just exactly what the wild dogs in Africa do.
Well, there's a difference between that and whatever it was that they got on that game cam, because that thing does not look like a dog. You couldn't look at it and go, "Oh, that's a neighbor's dog." You'd be going, "What the hell is that thing?"
You saw this thing anytime, day or night or whatever. It'd make you scratch your head.
Yeah. What is this weird thing? It's not a knot deer. It's the dreaded knot deer. So, yeah, there's some weird cryptids down there, especially on the lower East Coast, around the eastern lower side of the U.S. You get reports of some of these cryptids that they're not anywhere else. The only places you get the reports out of are those areas.
Yeah. Well, then you got some unusual geography from Louisiana on over. There's so many river systems.
Right.
They get down close to sea level, way back up mid part of the state, and they start slowing down. And they slow down at the bottom first, and the top runs faster.
Right.
And then it starts to do these weird currents and rolls and stuff. And from that point on, animals that live in it began to be a little kind of on the unusual side, unusual sized or something. When French originally came up in that area, it's in their logs, they shot a 22-foot long alligator.
I got a report from one of my friends. This just happened 2 days ago. You got a swamp near his house that they kind of avoid most of the time because too many gators there. No one ever hunts them. They've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, they went down. There's reasons for exceeding the normal.
Right.
Length.
Well, this one just in their little swamp over there in northeast Louisiana was about 15 feet long.
That's a monster.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was big. That's one of the reasons they got rid of it. They went, I think 150 years is probably long enough for this guy. He's way too dangerous. He needs to go.
I think they caught you can see the picture. It's on Google. A gar that was like 12 feet long.
Oh, good God.
I mean, it was just so outrageously big.
Yeah.
You know,
and they got a hell of a set of jaws on them, too. I'm not getting in the water with that.
they got a place up here that's got two rivers intersecting, confluent. They go right like this. And in that little spot right there, you catch monster catfish. I mean, these catfish are outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll take, if you don't strap yourself down, they'll pull you in there.
And then they'll eat you.
Yeah.
Damn catfish.
It's something about that rolling water, and there's some energies there that we don't know anything about, the flow of ions and things like that. So the
churning up the water and releasing all of the tiny microbes in there that the next bigger size eats, and the next bigger size eats them, and suddenly there's tons of food there for anything the size of a catfish to eat. So they get gigantic. Yeah.
It's so I've seen it. I've seen that before, and people that are kind of in the know, they want a record fish. That's where they go.
Yeah, I can see that. We get the same thing up north here, wherever there's like dams and sloughs and stuff like that, where you get that big water area backed up and stuff. Those giant catfish will sit right down at the bottom of that dam, predating on anything that's swimming up to it. And divers run into that all the time when they're trying to do repair work. They're like, there's a giant damn catfish down there. I don't want to go back down there again.
Swallow you.
Exactly. They will. If they're big enough to do it, they'll try. I know there was a diver up here years and years ago in the Minong River in Wisconsin, which is, of course, has swamp water going into it. So it's full of tannin. So it looks like dark tea. Can't see anything. And he's down on the bottom trying to repair this dam, and he feels something touching his cheek. Feels like a twig hitting him. And he turns around and looks, and no, that was one of the feelers on the front of a giant catfish. That was tapping him. Yeah. And then he came up and went, I'm not working on this one anymore.
Wow.
So, yes, there are monsters.
And sometimes you see out of place things that they call it what do you call that thing? I forgot what it's called. It's one of the really, there's a lot of them in the Columbia River. What do you call those things?
Anachronistic life forms.
It's got a little feelers right under here.
Oh, geez.
They get huge, 6-7 feet long. I forgot the name of them, but they caught one of those. There, right there in the Pearl River.
One of those like axolotl things, or a mud skipper, or something like.
It was not. It was out of place. I know. They say now, since that happened, that there's a few of them,
Yeah, well, now that they are forced to admit.
Yeah. I tell you what, my memory's not as good as what it used to be. I wish I could recall that.
I just haven't.
I can see the fish. I saw the picture of it.
It's a fish that's got like feelers underneath its chin or something?
Yeah, it's underneath, and it's got these ridges on it, the length of its body.
Yeah, I can picture what you're talking about. Like a sturgeon? No.
Sturgeon. I was fixing to look it up.
There you go.
Sturgeon. Huge sturgeon in these warm waters down here.
They get insanely big. Actually, the biggest sturgeon that have ever been pulled in is from the fishing fleet in the largest lake in the world, Lake Baikal in Russia. And they had one that was over 3,000 pounds that they netted and pulled in.
I think this was like 200 or 300, but for this area,
that's ridiculously big.
It was a really big fish.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Sturgeons look prehistoric anyway. Can you picture one that's like, 3,000 pounds? It's like, God, no, I'm not going to that lake ever again.
They also get sharks way out of place. They found a shark, I think, almost to Minnesota in the Mississippi River.
Good Lord.
Bull shark?
Yeah, bull sharks can go fresh water. Yep, bull sharks will go right into fresh water.
Shark attack up there, you think?
Nope. Somebody in Minnesota will win the Darwin Award and get eaten by a bull shark. It's just a matter of time.
Manatees, same way. Manatees, sometimes you'll find a manatee way off way far away from Florida.
Yeah.
They
Trying
get
to
up
find.
2,000 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've been swimming in manatees before. They're really cool. And they're extremely not dangerous. So, yay. So, anyway, we're hitting the 1 hour mark here. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up, mention, or anything pertaining to this case with the weird clip?
No. I kind of deal in images, you know. It's if I get an image, I always appreciate somebody weighing in on it.
Me too. Matter of fact, I just sent you an image that you got to check out. One of my viewers sent it to me. He got a picture of something in a bush sticking its head looking at him. And whatever it is, it's really creepy looking. So you can take a look at that one, see what you think. But, you know, you guys know.
The art of seeing an image is a very complex thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is electrochemical in nature. So it's a combination of electricity and all kinds of juices. And your brain will take what your eyes see it, and the eyes see it upside down.
Yeah.
And then the brain inverts it back to right side up, and then goes through. It can go to one of several areas. Some people have, you know, when you go look in the refrigerator, and you just take a look for a drink or something, you don't put that in your analytical part of your brain. The brain, it knows what to do with it. It just sends it to that side over there, gives it minimal, you know, amount of look. And if you can get everything to go into the analytical part, then you will see a lot more things.
Right.
All your tools start to kick in. And artists do that. An artist sometimes will paint into a mirror. I mean, they'll look at the mirror and do the painting, because it makes everything go to that skilled, dedicated part of the brain.
Right.
And some people may take a month to paint a picture. A week into it, that all of a sudden they look at it and they can't even analyze, you know. And I did that with the Patterson film as well. I'd reverse direction on our walk to just keep it fresh,
Right.
you know, and keep
Look at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably one of the reasons why so many people unless humans cue in on movement, if something's standing still, we tend to not recognize it unless that part of our brain that says, I recognize this pattern. This looks like something I've seen before, even though it's not moving. And then your brain will go, wait, take a look. Oh, that's a bear standing over there, not moving. So you see the bear. But if your brain doesn't have that pattern recognition built in it, and there's a Bigfoot standing there, your brain doesn't know what a Bigfoot is. It says it's a stump. You just keep turning your eyes. You pay no attention to it. Didn't move, didn't draw your attention. Analytical part of your brain didn't kick in. Your pattern recognition part of your brain says, there's nothing there. I don't recognize that pattern.
It took the easy way.
Yeah.
You know, it just said real quick, it looks like a stump.
Yeah. Nothing moved. So you
runs off, and then
right. Then the analytical part kicks in and goes, stumps can't run away.
Yeah.
So it's just, they use this on us so much. All they got to do is stand still. Our brains don't have a pattern recognition for them. If they don't move, we just don't even notice them. Our brain just goes, oh, that's a stump.
Well, you know, pareidolia is a common word they use now, and it's kind of being overused.
Oh yeah.
As anybody that wants to kind of knock you around a little bit, they'll just say, "Well, you're seeing things." Pareidolia.
Well, that's a useful vocabulary weapon that was invented by the CIA to debunk people. They're literally the ones that came up with the term pareidolia.
Well, I invented my own word, and I call it pareidolia-dolia, where you know, people think everything is pareidolia.
Yeah.
And so they have pareidolia-dolia.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's a word intended for rare instances. and it's being applied across the board.
Now, the best example of pareidolia is, like laying on your back, looking at the clouds and going, oh, that one looks like a horsey. That one looks like a bear. That almost looks like somebody's face,
Well, I mean, it may be.
Pareidolia.
We know it's not a horse.
Yeah.
What it does. Some of them do look.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
there's been some great pictures of clouds that look like completely like something that we'd recognize and like, wow, that's cool. But it's not that. That's not what it is.
We know what it is.
Yeah, we know it's a cloud.
Yeah, but they're gonna take it and it's gonna every picture that comes out, everything, it's gonna be pareidolia. It got like that for a while. But you might as well not put a picture up.
Yeah. Oh, now it's all AI. First it was pareidolia. First it was blob squatches. Then it was pareidolia. Now it's all AI.
AI took the place of all of it.
Yeah. Now we got a big blanket thing we can blame for everything. AI, artificial idiocy.
I don't know what the Bigfooting or Bigfoot research is going to do about that. It's very. I mean, the potential for a disaster is there, where you can't trust anything.
No. But as for me, whenever I get Bigfoot on video, I've got the original SD card from the camera, and I go, you want to see the original? Taken with this camera? Here it is.
It's all going to be a chain of custody.
Uh-huh.
You better make sure you have the complete chain of custody, that it didn't go to anyone's hands at all, and you can prove it.
And hopefully you have a witness with you when you recorded it, so it's not just your word plus the actual evidence.
Or two cameras.
Yeah, more than one. That's helpful. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for being here with us again. Everybody loves MK. He was the winner of World Bigfoot Central's 2024 Researcher of the Year. You all voted on that, and he won. And I think deservedly so. He doesn't get enough credit for being a field researcher.
It was a real surprise and real blessing, really, too.
You're on a really short list, too. Yeah. we haven't given out that award very many times, so you're on a short list there, MK. And this was nice, because this was the first time that it wasn't just me or me plus somebody else going, well, here's our candidates, you guys vote on it or whatever, or us just picking. This is like, who do you want? Nominate candidates. Okay, now we're going to all let them battle it out. You guys vote who you think's the best. Congratulations, MK won, and deservedly so. So with that, thanks everyone for being here. Anything else you want to say, MK?
No, I just appreciate being here myself. And, thank you for the opportunity.
I always said, love having you on the show. Looking forward to seeing you up here and running around the woods looking for some Bigfoot here later on this summer. And KD is planning on being here too, Kimmer. So everybody, remember all of the usual rules apply here. Do not go around any slapping guggies or anything like that either. Keep yourself out of trouble. Don't kick chupacabras and all the rest of the rules. Take care, everyone. See you next week.
So make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puckwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do, do not hug the Wookiee.